And to me, it's something that's degrading and dehumanizing, not for the women, for the men. It's something that I think it should be beneath men to act that way out in public, to show that they have no, self-control. It's classless, it's degrading, it's bottom feeding, and that's my opinion. In the spotlight today is a video titled "The Raw Attractive Power All Men Have That Women Won't Admit to Feeling." And it's from the My Non-Level Life channel. Really interesting channel, very insightful information, very unique information offered by a woman for men, so that men can understand exactly how women think, what motivates them, and start to explain their behavior. So first things, obviously, I am not a woman, so I'm not going to be passing judgment on whether these things are true or not. What I will point out are things that jump out at me because, as you know, different realities exist. Things are not always as we've been led to believe they are, and there's no universal experience. So with that said, okay, she's talking about the difference between men and women who are going to a strip club. So she explains how women view it, and then she's now explaining how men view their time at a strip club where women are stripping.
They're not really having the same reaction as guys are having. The guys are hypnotized. They're being put in a trance. Their hormones have gone insane, and their hormones have given them sex brain to the point where they're just almost out of control.
One of the things that the tropes, the narratives that is common in American society is this concept of the all-powerful male sex drive, the all-powerful libido, and that when men see a naked woman or see anything sexual, that all of a sudden they can't control themselves. Now, it could be that I have low testosterone, and it could be that I'm just not wired and programmed like other men to understand, to corroborate what she's saying. But you see it in movies, you see it in videos, you see it in comedians will endorse it. It's this belief that somehow men can't control their behavior when it comes to things related to sex. And it's sad to me that not only is it a narrative that's repeated by society, but it's also that something a lot of boys and who eventually become men, they buy into and just perpetuate this. One of the things that jumped out at me, having been born and raised part of my life in Jamaica, one of the things that jumped out at me when I started living in New York was how men reacted to women on the street. Now, if you're in America and you're living in a big city, I'm sure you've seen this. A woman will be walking by and men, pass her, and if she's attractive, all of a sudden the men break their necks to turn and look and admire the woman as she's walking away. And it's something that I've never done, something I don't do. And to me, it's something that's degrading and dehumanizing, not for the women, for the men. It's something that I think it should be beneath men to act that way out in public, to show that they have no, self-control. It's classless, it's degrading, it's bottom feeding, and that's my opinion. Now, again, it could be that I just have low testosterone and I don't respond that way. However, here's how I know it's cultural. One of the things that happened to me when I first moved to Saipan, I was in a bank and a young lady came into the bank, very attractive young lady, and just not even consciously, but I was sort of out of the corner of my eye, sort of expecting to see guys admiring her. And not a single guy did. We were all online in the bank and everyone was standing up. Girl walked in and everyone just kept their heads straight and continued doing whatever they were doing. And it struck me that first of all, Saipan is a small island, so people are probably better behaved because you don't want to be ogling the mayor's daughter or your next door neighbor's mother, that sort of thing. So, but I also don't notice it in other countries in this region. If you're in the West, you may think it's normal, you may think it's masculine, you may think it's second nature for a man to turn and look at a woman as she's walking by to admire her rear end. To me, again, my opinion, I think it shows low self respect, and it's something that I would suggest. Let's say if I had someone who I was mentoring, that they simply not do. It's not a given that men respond this way. In fact, just the other day in the Philippines, I'm in a taxi and we're stopped at a light and a girl is walking by and the taxi driver, he's looking forward. She passes, she walks by and he just simply said, "That's a pretty girl." And, then we pulled off and kept driving. There was no, panting. There was no groveling. To me, it never made sense to show that sort of desperation out in public in the street, looking at the backside of a person who is walking away from me, who I'm not acting on to make something happen, and who would probably be contemptuous of me if I were. So to me, it just never made sense. So it's not something that needs to be part of your manly behavior. In fact, try an experiment. Try next time you're walking down the street, if you're in the West, just walk down the street. Don't be distracted by the shiny objects and just keep walking for a day or two and see how that works out for you in terms of maintaining a particular stoic masculine frame. Okay, let's keep going.
Now, the reason I had to make this video is because some of my male friends, they get really dejected and down because, they have not had much luck with women. And maybe women have made fun of them in the past and said, they're unattractive in these certain ways. And they feel there is something defective about who they are, and that they are just somehow fundamentally unattractive.
Okay, so what that brought to mind was the times that I would go to clubs in New York, and the way that women in the West rejected men was brutal. There was no respect. There was, it was demeaning again. It was, like she said, ridicule. Sometimes you get ridiculed. It's really emasculating. Here on this side of the world, if you approach a woman, she's not offended that you approach her. She understands that men like women and women like men, but she won't ridicule you. She won't make you feel like a creep for approaching her. In fact, my Thai girlfriend, I'd seen her a couple times on the beach when I would go for my morning meditation. And one day I saw her at the Saturday market and I decided to ask her out. And she said, "No, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, but we can be friends." So that was cool. There are ways that you can reject someone without making them feel like it's the worst decision they ever made to approach. And I find that people in places outside of the West do so in a very dignified, courteous, respectful way, where they acknowledge the fact that you might even be flattered by the fact that you find them attractive. Realize that it may be nothing personal against you, and you can actually walk away from a rejection feeling great about yourself rather than feeling down. Okay, she's now talking about when she rejects men who have made advances. She's rejected them for this reason, or she rejected them for that reason, and she lists the reasons that she might reject someone. And now she's explaining something very important that men need to hear.
But I didn't ever for one second forget that they were still guys, all right? And they still had and retained the power of a man. The same power that I'm talking about that, a guy sees when he sees, a naked woman or a really sexy woman or something. All guys have that. And it's not visible to them, but it is visible to women.
Okay. One of the things that I have learned on this side of the world is that your masculinity is accepted and appreciated. A former girlfriend of mine came to visit on Saipan for us to reconnect. And she's not familiar with life on Saipan. And if you check out my Discover Saipan channel, you'll see that in order to get water, you have a 5 gallon water bottle and you go to a filling station or you have it delivered and you get your water and you take it home or have it delivered. So these 5 gallon bottles of water filled with water were about 41.7 pounds each. So she followed me to the store. I got the water bottles and then I walked out with one bottle in each hand towards the car. And so again, these are each one weighs 41.7 pounds, and I walk with it, and put it in the car. And she commented that was the first time she had seen that because she's living in the States. She came to visit on Saipan, so she said, "Wow, that's hot." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, the strength, and because I'm always curious to find out, how women think and what they find attractive, I asked her, what is it about that you found hot? And she said, well, just the power. I want to be next to that. So we can do a whole nother video on that, and maybe I'll get a woman to explain. But she just wanted to be next to that sort of strength, that sort of power that could lift two 5 gallon water bottles in each hand and walk up a flight of steps to it. So it's similar, in my opinion, to what I had told my um, Thai girlfriend when she came over and was sweeping all the time. I said, you don't have to do all of that. You don't have to wash the dishes. You don't have to sweep. Even though those are, that's lady work, as she said, I just want you to, sit, talk to me, and just be feminine. And it sounds similar to that in the sense that my ex who commented on the water bottle simply wanted to be in the proximity of the masculine because that's something that's attractive. Whether you're hammering, whether you're fixing something, whether you're working on a car, it's just something that's masculine that you may not think is noteworthy, but just in itself, just the power, the strength, the resourcefulness, whatever it is attractive to the feminine. And I get more of that, or people now are not afraid to admit that and accept that and revel in it on this side of the world. So just something to think about. So we move on.
Right. So even when a girl's rejecting you for this reason, she still senses your masculine power deep down. It's just you're not really unleashing and tapping into the power she knows you has. But all guys have it. Even guys I've rejected, I have still felt and seen their attractive power. And I know that if they, almost like if they knew it was there and they knew that I liked it and they knew that I wanted it and they unleashed it or turned it on or suddenly started to bring that out more, it would be dangerous for me because then I would be vulnerable because I would be able to be manipulated and I would be kind of weak, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so this is what I find interesting. And if you're living in the West, you may not think there's anything wrong with that statement, anything odd about that statement. But think about this for a second. She says, if a man knew the power, how attractive he was, he would use that against me and I'd be at a disadvantage. I think she says that in the next sentence. He'd be at a disadvantage. Unless you look at this objectively, you may just gloss over it and not realize how odd that is. So this man who she's referring to, I hope she's not referring to someone once she's in a relationship with him. I hope I could understand if she's talking about it in the context of just getting to know someone. That I could understand. But if you think about it, what she's saying is he would use that against me and I'd be at a disadvantage. ask yourself, what is she talking about? What is that? What is that? Sounds like a competition. It sounds like an adversarial relationship. It sounds like a game. It sounds like something where people are trying to best each other at something. He would use that against me and I'd be at a disadvantage. How about instead of that, if there were a reality where someone says, this is what I want. Let me do things to get what I want and to make the two of us happy. That may sound naive, but instead of looking at the relationship as a power struggle, and I mentioned this in the dating and wifing video on my Discover Saipan channel, but instead of looking at the interaction as combative, adversarial, and as a power struggle to see who is at the advantage and who can use what against the other person, as if winning a person over or getting their affection is somehow a victory that makes the other person lose. And again, as I mentioned in that other video, I understand to some degree what she might be talking about. She might be talking about being the one in the relationship that has 51% of the power. I understand that completely. I'm the same way. But it is something that does not need to be that way. A different reality can exist in that instead of looking at the interaction as something where people are using your interest and your attraction against you, I would suggest that people on this side of the world, not everyone, of course, but are actually comfortable with revealing their interest in someone because it ultimately helps them get what they want, as opposed to feeling that they've somehow lost a battle by giving in. So, I'd love to talk more about this. Share what you think about this in the comments. But that was what really jumped out at me is the fact that it seemed like a power struggle rather than a meeting of minds, meeting of hearts, meeting of two desires that want to connect. So you go ahead, check out the entire video because despite what I've just said, it's really the whole channel is very fascinating and very revealing and can reveal a lot of things about feminine nature. But just keep in mind that she may be speaking culturally. She may be speaking about how women and revealing how women think and how they act and what their motivations are from a uniquely American cultural perspective that may not exist in other countries and in other parts of the world. So let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.